116th edition of the Brewgooders Beer and Comics. You'll notice that Colin and Andrew aren't here. It's just me, Geoff, and David today. And we're going to be joined by Dusk Comics' David Doub in a couple of moments. How are you? You all right?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
All right. A wee bit like oofed. The guys that know what they're doing aren't here. That's a bit worrying.
I know. Just left with the Dumb and Dumber, basically.
I think we'll be.
That's okay. Totally the best thing to do, I think, is just drink too many beers, and then we'll just chat shit by the end of it all. And we'll leave happy. As long as we leave happy, it's
that's fine. It's all that matters, isn't it? I suppose. So we're gonna bring David on in a couple of minutes, and then after David's obviously fair to kick around, and we can talk beer and comics as well. So that'd be really fun. I'm just getting a text from Brewgood Towers. Sorry, like the bosses have just messaged. They don't trust us to do this on our own, so they've decided that they're going to pop a new host in for us.
Oh, okay, this is exciting. Yeah!
Now listen,
Marky boy.
Listen. Look, there's been some technical issues, and what you guys don't realise is 95% of your global audience don't understand a flippin' word you're saying. So I'm here as translator / moderator, trying to convey your true feelings and thoughts to the rest of the world. So
I'm just loving the big massive smile on David's face because he had no idea that Mark was coming on.
I had no idea. That's yes, good, awesome. I have like a poor man's Mark, haven't it? That's when they were looking for another host, Mark, they were really looking for you.
I think so. Colin will be joining us in a little while, but for a wee while Colin wasn't. So I was like, we could do with just having a bit of banter, and I was bring Mark on. That's always good for him. And there's obviously there's an MCU movie coming out next week for you to ruin later on as well. So,
so first of all,
I've got Hawkeye spoilers. I've got bloody did you know Batgirl spoilers? Batgirl's being filmed in Glasgow at the moment. Believe it or not, I've got all sorts of bollocks and balderdash to ruin for you.
I'm just going to say to the viewers just now, if you ask a question regarding any form of comic book, TV show, or movie, it will be spoiled. So I'm just telling you and warning you now. All right.
I love that. We should just have a feature on the comics. It's like Mark guesses things and see. And then awesome. Right. Okay. So thank you for stepping in, Mark, and saying hi and we look forward to your beer and comics chat. We will, but we're going to bring in David as well to join into the chat, and we're going to talk to the creator and the owner of Dusk Comics, David Doub. He is here.
Hello,
David.
Hello. I'm a little intimidated now, but I'll get over it.
No, nothing to be intimidated about.
David, I am here to serve as translator for these two gentlemen because I know at times the thick Scottish accent, if you can call it that, sometimes it's a bit wobbling, and it's hard on the old beer. So I'll use my even worse New Zealand accent to translate.
Yeah, I was going to say I need subtitles for everything now, but I'll muddle through.
We're only half a beer in at the moment, so we should be fine just now. It's maybe later on in the cast that things become a little slurred.
Oh boy. Have you guys ever seen there's a skit where I think it was Scottish men are in an elevator where it taught you have the voice activated?
11.
Hey, Burniston.
Oh, I love Burniston, man.
It was Burniston, yeah.
Yeah, I was basically told I had to watch that before even entering Scotland. That was a requirement.
Oh wow!
Did you see this is a total aside, and again, this is maybe just a complete spin in the wrong direction. Can you remember that TV program from the 90s, Games Master?
Yes.
Yeah, where it's like I don't know if I think it was a very British thing, but it was basically like it was esports before esports were a thing. So like folk would come into this like wrestling ring that had been set up in a television studio to play like Mario Kart and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
That it's restarted on a E4.
Right. It's
And it's
Trevor.
supposed yeah.
E4, David, is a TV channel that is free to air. Yeah.
Because nobody would pay for it, I think.
G4, yeah, G4 was always on your basic cable package. So it's all like.
It's hosted. Games Master is hosted by Ralph Lawrence from the Bernstein. One of the 11 guys is the host of Games Master on E4, which is hilarious.
Oh.
He's such an obscure. Well, he's not an obscure, but he's a very funny. But he's a Scottish comedian that I didn't think had much presence outside of Scotland. But yeah, every so often you'll hear somebody that knows the Bernstein elevator sketch or something like that. It's amazing. But tell us about yourself, David. Can you, for people that don't really know who you are?
Yeah, sure. Obviously, as you can tell from my accent, I'm from Wales, and no, I'm out here in Texas, but I don't have that accent either, so I'm just failing on all levels. I've been doing comics for a while now, for about 10 years, and I've just always had a love for it. And my latest book is, funnily enough, a kind of a play off of all those old Penny Dreadfuls. Because I wasn't as much into steampunk, but I loved gothic horror and, of course, Penny Dreadfuls and all that, rubbish you Britain put out. So I decided to do my own as a comic book.
Nice,
Amazing.
awesome. And are all of your is that the only series you have, or have you got a few other series?
Oh yeah. Actually, that book is a continuation. It was I originally had a 3-part miniseries about the characters and all of that, and this is kind of a one-shot side story based off of that. So I've done it before, and in the original 3-part miniseries, I was actually able to put in text stories in the back, like a Penny Dreadful would have, with the kind of woodblock print styled images. As well.
Bring them up just now.
That's
awesome. It was. I'm a fan of your work. I first became aware. We Brewgooders joined. Don't know what that was.
Yeah. Okay. I would like to have another wee thing. So we're also using a new operating system, and this is week 2. So
sorry,
technical glitches as we move forward.
Yeah, expect them. No, I became aware of our stuff. We ran a live tasting session in March this year, just when. We've done like pub crawls and stuff in the podcast before, and we hadn't been able to do anything like that because of lockdown and like all the restrictions that were happening across the world. So we did a charity drink beer session earlier in the year where anybody that bought tickets also got access to comics. And we were very gracious that you were able to donate a comic to that, which was incredible. And that's how I became aware of your work.
Well, that's one of the, obviously I'd like to help charities, but also it helps spread the word around too. So it's always a, win-win. It doesn't hurt anyone. So that's why I'm always more than willing to, give away comics.
Nice, good stuff.
Do you want to tell us about your series and I'll pop up some images from the press release that you sent me, if that's all right?
Yeah, sure. It's the series is about it's another Miss Tilney Adventure. And this one is called the God, I gotta look at the cover myself.
Let's say it 5 times really fast.
Yeah. It's the Salty Seductions of the Salacious Seas. And I was trying to play off of those old Penny Dreadful titles, where they would have bad, crazy alliteration and all that. So this one's actually set in I'm all under pressure because I'm dealing with people that may actually know her, but it's set around a coastal town in Cornwall, actually. And the lead character is this young lady who wants to be a reporter, but obviously in Victorian England, they're not going to let anyone do that. So she gets all these worst story assignments possible.
Yeah.
And so in this one, and she's also usually accompanied by Lord Harwood, obviously a pun intended on that, who fancies her. And all.
Amazing.
I tell you, David.
Are you the writer and illustrator? Sorry.
Okay, I'll go.
Sorry, David. Are you the writer and illustrator?
No. The illustrator is Pat Binder. He's an amazing local guy out of here in Texas too, and he just, as you can see, he just really does amazing work. I'm really lucky to have found him, and he loves this sort of stuff. He's a big fan of the book. That's how I found him. Actually, he's like, "Oh, I was trying to do a fan comic, and here's 5 pages." And I was all like, "Fan comic? Hell, let's put you on the the book."
Nice, Mark.
No, I was just going to say, David, you don't have to worry about these guys and geography. They don't know. I don't think either of them even been to London before. So, anything south of the border, they're just not interested in.
I'm actually just back from down south. Thank you very much.
Cornwall's a really interesting place. I like my understanding of Cornwall is there's almost a nationalist movement in Cornwall. Which is quite interesting because it's obviously part of England. It's but there is
they class themselves as Cornish,
yeah, and there is a movement within the area to become their own sort of state, which is quite interesting. As obviously, that's
and they're kind of small though. I mean, physically speaking, aren't they? I mean, that's not a lot of land. I mean,
geographically, it's not massive, but it's still quite a formidable corner of the world, and obviously it's or the corner of the UK, I should say. But that's lovely. I've been down there once on holiday, but it was the back of Mom and Dad's car, and it took hours, and
it's definitely a popular tourist destination and a holiday destination. I'm loving this guy's artwork. It's very the way he's drawn the lead female, Captain Tilly. Was it Captain Tilly?
Miss Tilney. If you read the text, basically the first image was him imagining what their adventure would be like, and he was coming up with a Penny Dreadful cover. So that was just all his imagination. It's like, oh, what if we did this and that? And she's literally like, what in the hell are you talking about? So you'll see every time you see a large oversplash cover in the book, it is basically Lord Harwood just imagining things that are not really happening.
Right. Okay.
There's some incredibly strong cartooning going on there, and kind of reminiscent of Mike Wieringo. I can't say that. Mike Wei Wieringo. Oh.
Yeah, I always have a hard time with his name too. I always want to say Wendigo, and I was like, no, that's a mythical creature.
But no, it's fantastic.
It's going right over what Geoff said.
No, it reminds me of and this is like I maybe going right over my head, or maybe like treading the same water. But in like some of the Beano annuals, so like
yes,
traditionally in the I'll minimize the screen for you. I'll put it back up in a wee while. Traditionally in the Beano annual, you would have like all the normal. You would have all the normal guys that you would normally expect in there. You would have like your Dennis the Menaces and your Minnie the Minx and stuff like that. But in the middle of the annual, there would be like a story that you would only ever get in the annual, and it was a very sort of similar style to. It's very like it's fascinating. It's
like a kind of real life style, like a real life kind of cartoon story.
Just a different style and a different tone. And like in a different, just stylistically, artistically, and sort of in story style, completely different to everything else in the Beano. But it reminds me of like even just down to not being in color. Like I seen that and I'm like, oh, that reminds me of a sort of a bit of a bygone, but a very nostalgic part of a.
Yeah, we were lucky for that because we didn't have it colored, but we were talking to the publisher and they were like, you know what, we like it colored, we like it in this black and white, so we're gonna stick with that, which is interesting because in the American market, unless it's manga, black and white books predominantly just do less sales. It's just the nature of the beast, which we're like, but with Pat Style, and he does have a cartoonist flavor to his thing. Like you're talking about Beano, or I would almost say, like, if you look at like Asterix, where where everything looks so realistic, but the people are a little bit more cartoony.
Yeah.
He has a very strong style, and that's, I think, works really well in the black and white, to where you don't. I mean, obviously, it would look gorgeous in color too, but it's strong enough where you don't need it.
It's very it's very.
David,
sorry.
what's the plan for? I'm going to just keep talking over you, Geoff. David, what's the release schedule? What's the plan with the publisher?
Currently, it's in Diamond for ordering. So I don't know how. I don't know how much. I know ordering on Diamond in the UK is a little bit of a different animal, but it's right now it's in Diamond, and so it's out for order from any comic shop, and it's due for a February release, late February.
And what's final order cutoff? Do you know?
I believe it's January 21st. I want to say.
No worries. And the publisher again is
Source Point Press.
Source Point Press. Right, there you go. So you go to your Diamond catalog, you go into your comic book shop, you go down to the Source Point Press, and you're away. And the other way is Comics Hub for those comic stores that have that. I think Comics Hub loads up everything from Diamond. I'm 98% sure on that. And what's happened in the UK, David, just for you, is we don't have that split between Marvel going to Random House and DC doing their own thing. Everything's still funneled through Diamond at this stage. But who knows?
Yeah, I know we've had some craziness, and I know sometimes you don't get books, or other things won't happen, or you get them later than us. So I knew you had your own headaches, but yeah, I guess we've had the worst of it this time around.
Yeah,
we had the
postal and mail delays, haven't we, guys? And how things have been
just scary time. We had the Albie and Louise from the Little Shop of Heroes came onto our podcast just as all that Diamond stuff started to go. So that's our local comic book shop, and it was interesting just even seeing it from their perspective. It's scary, I think, particularly as a comic shop. They're like, yeah, we don't know where. Albie was like had his hands up, and he was like, I have no idea where your comics are coming from, so please just be patient. Just a scary time. But yeah, hopefully it's all kind of been sorted out now, though, isn't it?
Fingers crossed. So, David, have you done anything on Kickstarter before? Is that kind of a platform you would use, or is that not a route that you would normally take?
I'm sorry, did you say Kickstarter? Or?
I did, yes.
Okay, sorry. I heard everything you said, but the Kickstarter, I was all like,
what?
Yeah, I was all like, I only have to watch Doctor Who with the subtitles once in a while, so I'm not that special. But more so when Peter Capaldi was on it with his accent. But
yeah.
But no, I've used it for a couple of books actually, and it's just some of them I'm looking to get with publishers and all that. But no, I have. I've used both. I've used traditional publishing right out of the gate, but more and more I've used Kickstarter. But now Kickstarter's changed the game to where they're making it all on a bit blockchain or bit chain or whatever, however you phrase it. So I'm all like, oh, that's going to be a whole nother.
That is the news of the day, isn't it?
Yes, that's been kicking off in our Slack chat, Mark?
Yeah.
I've been reading it. It's actually, I think, was it Aaron that put something up? He kind of set my mind at ease, actually, by Small Press. Is it Aaron? Yeah. And also Dan shared a video as well. I think it was Perch Comics. Perch, I think, is a guy that does, I listened to him as well, and it doesn't sound that terrifying anymore. This morning, it was like, fucking hell, what am I going to do here? This is my whole thing's just on Kickstarter.
So we're allowed to fully swear now? I didn't realise that. I thought it was all PC before. Oh, jeez.
No. We can come on. If there are any children watching this show, this sad lives.
Do something better with your time.
Do something better. Go and make something.
At least I know in my corner of things, the big issue is the ecological impact.
Environmental.
Yeah, the environmental, because I don't, because like, there's a famous place in Oregon now to where these rivers meet, and no one was using the power there. It was just like this middle of nowhere nothing. And now, and there was just all this raw untapped power that this like Three Rivers converging was meeting. And now there's nothing but hundreds of little shacks filled with computers just running Bitcoin farming computers.
Yeah.
And so we're having that like all over the place, to where it's, it hasn't hit bad yet here, but it's still like, well, what's the end game? But it does put an annoying wrinkle, especially like.
I don't understand it.
Like,
I don't understand why does it need so much power to generate it? I don't get it. I don't understand.
That is a podcast of its own, I think. That whole
that's deep technical, because I only know a little bit of it, and it's kind of like the way the encryption runs, or the way it runs is you just need a lot of processing time and power.
Yeah. If you have a lot of CPUs, you're going to be sucking down a lot of power. So that's the gist of it. And I think, briefly looking over this Kickstarter thing, what they're trying to set up is trying to set up something using Bitcoin farming and cryptocurrency to kind of future-proof themselves, but at the same time, as we all know, they're trying to offset it against buying carbon credits, which at the end of the day sounds good and is a good PR trick, buying carbon credits, but there's already so much waste and stuff already that it's going ass backwards. So it's something that'll probably be fluid, and it'll be interesting to see what happens over the next couple of months. And I think, as we're all Kickstarter creators here, and I think
and one thing I read,
it
was like a marketing stunt, because people are pointing out that the Kickstarter is not as hip with it anymore. There's no more potato salad recipes, getting $1 million and all of that. Yeah. So it was a way to kind of help, revitalize the brand and show how cool and modern they are, which is like, and because it's interesting, because it comes out just around when NFTs are hitting really big too. So you're like,
that's another massive debate.
Yeah.
Well, I had Colin trying to explain NFTs to me for what felt like most of the drive down to Thought Bubble, and I just didn't get it. I was just couldn't work it out. And I was like, I don't know if it's just like old school thinking, or I don't know what it is, but like, you pay money for a good or service.
Mm-hmm.
A good or
service.
And
I don't understand where the good or service is with NFTs and like all this sort of stuff. So I'm like, okay, wait.
It's essentially
just Bitcoin with an image.
Yeah. It's the value of it is whatever the market dictates it to be. The problem is there's a lot of problems with it. I would say there's a lot of garbage.
Well, like with the internet, you can just steal images.
Yeah, there's a lot of piracy as well. So people take images that have already been drawn or created by artists who aren't big in the food chain and putting them up as NFTs and selling them as their own work. So there's actually a massive piracy problem in there as well. So, but I have a contract with so for my campaigns, if I have a pinup going, I will say to all the artists doing pinups for me, you can have the NFT rights. You can do whatever, if you choose to, you can do whatever what you want. I'd never begrudge an artist making money, but that's their choice, and I leave it with them, and I wash my hands off it. So, yeah.
Do you think there's maybe a part that maybe possibly we are of an older generation, and this is the technology that we just don't get?
Well, yeah, there's a bit. So you look at the video games now, and you have to pay more money for the free-to-play games. You have to pay more money for an extra skin or an extra power-up or something like that.
Piece of armor and all that stuff.
You're paying for nothing physical, but there is a commodity is there mentally that you're actually purchasing something that helps you. And this is where the young NFT purchasers can see a value, whereas we can't, because I played a couple of free-to-play games, and every now and then they say, "Oh, pay this and you can get your hair." I was like, "No, why would I do that?" But that's how they make money. Some of these Marvel handheld games make tens of millions of dollars a year, and they're free-to-play games because people are always forking over hundreds of pounds a month to get the next skin, the next character, the next big thing. So yeah, it is. Like you say, there is an age thing probably.
It's almost like, MP3s, for example. So, buying MP3s, you don't get the same things you got when CDs. It was when I was a lad. You don't get the artwork, you don't get the
You
cover.
didn't have
all that
cassettes,
kind of stuff.
David. Come on.
Yeah, I did have cassettes, but yes, I did have cassettes, yes. But CDs was most what I bought. And obviously LPs as well before the records before my time. So it's almost like that. So the thing is all the young kids, that's how they've always purchased their music. So they're always used to things being, they own it digitally as opposed to physically.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, and it's interesting doing the whole roundabout thing on what people value these days. We're a lot different. We place a lot of commodity in having our omnibuses and trade paperbacks and hardcovers and stuff like that. Kids now, buying a comic book doesn't make a lot of sense to them. They can get Marvel Unlimited or something like that and get subscription services. And again, unfortunately, piracy as well is rampant in the comics community.
Yeah. I think when you bring that up, though, because, digital comics have been around for a while, and everyone was like, oh my God, it's going to kill the industry, or cause a dramatic shift. And we're all still sitting here going, nothing's happened yet.
It was exact same as when the Kindle came out and all these book readers that you could, everybody thought, oh, that's it. The novels are going to die out. It's all we're not going to have any books. And that's obviously not happened.
I would argue one thing with the. I know for a fact that I have single issue, trade paperback, hardcover, omnibus. I keep buying different versions of the same bloody thing. But yeah, there are certainly markets for that. And as you know, I think pricing is a huge issue in comics at the moment. That's a conversation that's been going around at the moment as well in some of our circles. It's a hard one to justify sometimes what we charge on Kickstarter and what we charge for things across the counter.
Totally.
It's you do small print runs, you got to charge more for stuff, and then of course with Kickstarter you get postage and everything as well.
And it's. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but it's interesting because when you're thinking about using Diamond or doing a short print run and all that, there is that different expectation to where I couldn't pay cover cost because I've talked to Diamond about doing it directly and not using the publisher and being my own publisher. Yeah. And you got to get a price point around like say $4, and then they want 60%. They always say 40 to 60, but somehow it always ends up to 60. They want their cut. And you're all like, I can't produce enough, books. I would have to do a large offset run, and I got to pay everyone unless I'm going to pay for it But yet on Kickstarter, you can be all like, oh, this book's this book is $10, and everyone's fine with it. It's a wholly different.
It's an incredibly weird scale of economy at this point. I think I'm charging more for postage overseas than I am for the actual book itself.
No, absolutely.
And I think we're kind of lucky in the UK at the moment. We post out from the UK. It's going everywhere in the world still globally. I know the US Mail is not posting to Australia and New Zealand at the moment. Anything above a letter. So and I think it's I think I heard today Canada isn't accepting parcels from New Zealand, Australia either. So there's all these other Kickstarters that are like, I cannot get my books to people unless I use another service, which will cost twice as much. So it's pretty nuts, isn't it?
And it's so expensive anyways. If I did use US mail to you're all like, it goes from, $30, $40. You're like, what?
It's insane. It is insane. But you know what? We'll get there in the end. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. David, so are you taking pre-orders for your book at the moment?
Yes. Well, yeah, technically Diamond is and all of that. So I'm trying to do the more traditional route, which I'm like, yay, right after everyone's split. So you're all like, great. Which is funny because which I get annoyed with DC and Marvel anyways, because they already had moved into their own catalogs with Diamond. So it's like, great. So they just ignore the whole other catalog and they can just go read the little Marvel catalog. That just, not like they can stop, they can stop anyways and, not have to flip through the rest of the book.
Yeah. Is that reflective of the whole comic industry though? I don't know. my heart sank a wee bit. Like, there's just different elements to the comic industry, but like what I loved about Thought Bubble was like there was no Marvel or DC represent. Thought Bubble was a big comic convention in the UK.
No, I've heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actual comic books, supposedly.
Yeah.
Yeah. No Funko Pop stands or anything.
Oh my God! Don't start with the Funko Pops.
But
You love Funko Pops.
I don't like Funkos. What's amazing about Thought Bubble though is it's very independently. It's focused on independent comics. There's actually, if you know, Mark can correct me if I'm wrong because he had a table at it this year, but there was only one stall that was selling anything mainstream, and it was the kind of Thought Bubble charity table in the back hall. It was just a big.
I think Mondo might have been there with Jock.
Yeah.
Was it doing the prints and stuff? But yeah, there weren't any major publishers, and that has to do with COVID as well. There was a couple that were going to come that pulled out, but they haven't been. There's no, even in the UK, even at the MCM, which are the equivalent. Actually, they're owned by ReedPop now, which is the big New York and Emerald City. They don't really have a DC or Marvel presence anymore. I think it was 2000 AD there. No, they went.
Rebellion should have been at Thought Bubble, but they
they chose not to come because of COVID.
Yeah.
It was I'd say quite a few people pulled out with COVID. It was kind of getting touch and go up to the last month or so because there's been a big spike again as there is around the world. But
we're still going strong here with cons, and it's just because we had the big thing where we had a big New York anime show, and some guy and his friends came, and he'd just come from South Africa, and he's like, "Well, let's go to a big event," and you know that's been now a spreader event of Omnicron, which sounds such like a Transformer, but anyways,
well, it does. It
totally does, doesn't it? It totally does. From the
that's Halo Parsley that you've got a nice sweater, David. Just for
Oh, thank you. Yes.
What I was going to say about it, Thought Bubble was like what was amazing about it was you were surrounded as a punter. I was surrounded by the indie comic scene, and it was great because like I have done like comic conventions at like sort of shopping centres in Scotland, and you know just that that recognition of independent comics is almost non-existent. At least in Scotland it is, and there's nothing worse than somebody walking past your table and being like, they'll look at your stuff and then they'll go to your long box to get and they're like, oh, do you have any Avengers? And then they'll pay £1 for your secondhand comic because your £3 self-published indie comic is
unknown.
And Diamond doesn't help with that, do they? With this whole like Marvel having their own catalog and DC having their own catalog.
Yeah, no, and it's funny you bring that up because like I should have mentioned to you guys that actually I joined forces with Show Enough Studios here in the States, but when I went with Dusk Comics as my name, people would go, "Oh, you're a comic book store," and I'd get messages like, "Oh, do you have Amazing Spider-Man 362?" And it was all like, "What? No, I make comics, and I definitely don't have the rights to Spider-Man." But no, it is interesting where you have different mindsets, and it's funny because now, you know, I think some of the superhero fans are getting a little frustrated too, because now you have the fans that only know the TV and the movies and such, and they're all like, you know, it's all like, oh, I got the pop, and I cosplay all of them. It's like, oh yeah, but you do know all of the old stories, and and they're all like, no, I saw the Disney Plus show, and they're all like, what, and you know, us indie guys are all like, oh, first time is it? It's like, welcome to the club, where you know you're not.
I mean,
welcome to the real world, pal.
Yeah. I think what's incredible is and I've talked to this before. I'm not sure if it's on the show or not, but the amazing missed opportunity that Marvel has with just putting a tag at the end of each episode saying, "Go to comicbookfinder.com to find out more stories." The Hawkeye series that should have an ad for Fractions and Arger's Hawkeye.
Yeah, totally.
But what happened was, this is really funny, when Hulu released MODOK in America, at the end of that, they had a tag, and it said, MODOK series by the creators, Patton Oswalt and blah, 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 out now. In the UK, that tag was not on Disney Plus when we got MODOK. So we get Hulu through a thing called Star over here. And that's just chucked on Disney Plus, so we're not paying any extra, which is quite good. But I find it fascinating they allowed that to happen on a Hulu show in the States. I thought, this is brilliant. They're going to just keep doing this and following up. And they haven't done it once over here, which makes no sense. And I don't know if it comes down to something silly like a legal requirement. When you put credits up, you're only allowed to put X, Y, and Z. But Disney own Marvel. They own Disney Plus. They can put whatever the hell they want on because we're paying for it. So it's just every time they put something out in the marketplace, they should be trying to drive footfall into comic book stores because that's where it all starts. And I know they've done a big movement at the moment too. I think they've got a contract with I know they've got the distribution with Penguin Random House, but I think they're doing something with their books side of things for kids and because the biggest comic book in the States is isn't it Dogman?
Dogman, and right behind it is Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Those are both the big comic books, which are all like they're half prose, but they're still the biggest.
Smile by Raina something. You know, those I think those 3 books do more than Marvel and DC combined in the States. And I think Laura Olympus, which is a Webtoons book, is I think it's now in the bestsellers, the New York Times bestsellers list, and that's a Webtoons comic drawn and written by a New Zealander. I don't know. I've tried to get her to draw something, but I don't know.
I think it's interesting what you're saying about like the way that comic, you know, like when driving towards the books. I don't know if anyone's noticed. I kind of stopped reading Marvel. I used to have a run, like I used to do Justice League and the Avengers at the same time, and just have like the. But I noticed even they're kind of they do a wee. I find the particularly like the main lines of Marvel, they do kind of like. They kind of teeter between like, you know, if there's a Black Widow movie coming out, she'll feature in the main Avengers run for a wee while. So all of a sudden, like, you know, so like obviously the whole point about the Avengers in the comics is that they're like a rotating cast and that like Blade can disappear. So obviously when Blade got announced at Comic-Con a couple of years ago, he all of a sudden was a main Avenger for for like a 5-issue run. And then Black Widow showed up for a wee bit, and she hadn't been in it for like 20 odd episodes. And then all of a sudden she issues, and it's like, oh, but we've got a Black Widow film coming out. And then the other thing I noticed now is more like it's kind of not quite what if, but like obviously the big Avengers series that came out this year was the mech one, where it was like they were just like
that was a toy one. Yeah, that was a toy tie into Hasbro toy. Mech tech. But again, that's stuff that's for the kids to pick up at Disneyland and stuff, and you know that sort of thing. It's something that they can spit out as a trade and shove and throw out to Scholastic and book fairs and stuff. So you know those sort of. And to be honest, look, I grew up on toy tie and comic books as well, with your G.I. Joe and your Transformers stuff. We had it was like the golden triangle of toys, comics, and TV shows going at the same time. You know. And actually, that's kind of how I got back into comics in the 90s and X-Men, when the X-Men animated show was on. And then I walked in the comic book store and realised none of this made any sense and matched up. And there was no internet. So you had to keep buying these bloody books so you could figure out what the hell was going on. And now they can just do a quick Google and like, oh, you're right. But anyway, we are very tangenting away from.
Rapidly.
I want to know more about David's book, to be honest.
Yeah, so do I. David, tell us more about your book, because.
Sorry, we're all comic nerds, so obviously.
David, this always happens. 116 episodes in. You'd think we'd have a system for this not to happen, but
but we don't, and I doubt we ever will. So David, give us another wee pitch on your book. Let us know where we can all get it or pre-order it.
He's just told us.
I know he does. I know he has, and also previous things as well. I was thinking, like, other stuff you've done. Where can you get it? Where's your base? What is your home? Your base? We can all go and snoop on and buy some things from you.
I'm mainly on Facebook, so you can find me there. Look for Show Enough Studios or David Doub or Dusk Comics, and I got stuff. This is me trying to get back into the mainstream stuff because I've been doing stuff. Like I said, with Kickstarter, I did recently a Texas horror anthology where it got pretty angry, but it was a great way to get out some angst. Like there's literally one where it was dealing with the mask mandate. So like a sheriff was all like, forget it. And so this vigilante starts drilling masks on people, because that's what I was basically doing around the house. I was like, I'm just going to staple them to people's faces. So I made a horror. But also, with this one, which Source Point Press, they're a very cool bunch, and they've actually, I was talking to them about a darker book about getting published with them, which again dealt with Texas stuff, because we had Columbine and all of that, and I did a story because I was only a few years out of high school when that happened, and I did another horror story where these gamers get frustrated at all their bullies, and they summon forth basically their wrath may manifest that starts killing all their tormentors, and it was my kind of take on what happened there. But I was talking to them about that, and they're like, it's great, but it's a bit heavy. Do you have anything softer that we can start with? I'm like, no, I get you. We can't go around killing Texans. Well, we can if you're the governor. Oh, that's my political comment.
Open carry law and stand your ground law there, isn't there? So.
Oh yeah, we won't even get into that. It's a very wild place here. It is the Wild West. Yeah. But so I had Miss Tilney has been. It deals with some, issues as well, obviously, about, sexism and misogyny and all of that. But it's done in, the Victorian area when it was, more obvious and prevalent. And I just had a lot of fun. Like I said, I love all the, the Penny Dreadful stuff. I loved, of course, Dracula. But then also I got into like Barney the Vampire and all of the other more, crazy stuff. So I decided to do a story with this this character, and we did it more and have fun with Victorian England and all of that, and then and I get to have, because here we don't have as an old culture as the rest of the world does, because like I remember a friend of mine, he had his fiance come over and she was British, and she's all like, oh, I love to go through old buildings. I was all like, we have an old abandoned Walmart or something. Maybe we don't have anything over 100 years old still standing in most cases. So it's interesting to get to fun and play with that lore and all that, because like in this particular one shot, I deal with the legend of and I'm probably mispronouncing it. It's the Silky. It's an Irish.
Yeah, I've heard of the Silky before. I think it's Selkie. Or
yeah. My language is horrible, and it's about the mermaid.
You're fine. You're doing fine.
Man, like no criticisms at all. Like,
yeah. So, okay. We border England, still can't speak it.
But it's interesting though, because that story, where the guy steals the woman's clothes and can hold her hostage because of that. There's like a Japanese one too, where it's slightly different, where it's a goddess or an angel comes down and she leaves her robe while bathing, and then they steal it and they keep her as a wife too. So it's all like, what is it with you Islander people stealing women's clothes and keeping them hostage at your house? Is this, I guess.
Hold on. You're not supposed to do that.
What?
Is that not?
Don't be weird, man.
Right. Okay.
Shit. How do you get her out? Is that what you're saying?
Dave, someone will be coming around shortly to speak to your wife to see if she's safe. So,
yeah. And let her access to the wardrobe closet.
There you go. There's Colin. He's just jumped in and said, yes, Selk is a mythological mermaid type creature.
Are you thinking of Kelpies, Colin?
No. Kelpies different. Kelpies are water horse.
Selkies are like mermaids. Yeah. David, before you go, you're more than welcome to hang around. We normally like about 45 minutes to 50 minutes in, just like chat through beer and comics that we've been reading and drinking this week. I just wanted to ask you, because I think you're our first Texan or first Texas-based guest.
Yeah, no, technically I don't claim to be a Texan, and it is funny because not to derail too much, because people from Texas won't let me be a Texan, but people who are not from Texas say, well, you're not a New Yorker either, which is where I'm originally from. So I'm like, what am I, a man with no country? It's no fun.
You're an alien.
We have that in Scotland. We have like if you move into a village but you don't have like you can't trace your if your great grandparents weren't from there, you're not from the village.
Unless you're in New Zealand and you get a free pass everywhere. I don't know how. I don't know what.
Unless you're from another country.
Yeah.
Unless if you're from another country, we welcome you with open arms. It's like, yeah, you're from fucking wherever. Yeah, you come with us. Yeah,
If you're from the village,
no.
Then my wife would demand that I ask if there's a cottage open in your village, that we can just you go and do squatters' rights or however you get houses over there.
Probably. No, I think you can do that. You're more than welcome. Just come over. It's fine. Yeah,
The weather's probably a bit better where you are, though.
Yeah.
Yes, I would say a lot better.
I was gonna ask, what's the comic scene? What's the convention scene like? Have you managed to get to conventions this year, or?
Yeah, no, it's actually been quite crazy because for a year and a half, people, very few people would try to do a show. Like one poor show kept trying to do a show, and hotels kept locking down. But for most part, we were like nothing. And then come like September, everyone had their shots. Everything was lifting. Everyone was trying to get a year and a half worth of shows within like 4 months. So we had like shows that would do 3 a year. They did like one every 2 months, and we're just all like, it was insane.
Yeah.
Some of the bigger, better ones were good to where they said you got to wear masks and all of that, and most people followed it. But you always had some people that would, and it was always funny. They would, when they, they're all like, I have my rights and all that, and they take off their mask. But when they were told stop that, they put it back on and wait until the authorities, left, and then take it off again. It's like, oh, such a rebel.
So great.
Yeah.
We're like that over here. We're all talk and not,
Are you Dallas based or Austin based?
Dallas based. Yes, there is a big difference between Dallas and Austin and Dallas.
Absolutely.
And I'm actually going to a show this Saturday of all things.
Yeah.
So yeah, but then I'm like 3 or 4 shots in, so I've lost track how many I've taken. I just
I think I'm on 3 now. I'm on 3. Yeah.
So mad we're talking about how many shots we've had, and not at a bar either. Yeah, I'm on 3 shots. Yeah, I'm on 4.
Listen, I've been taking the flu shot every year for the last, since forever. So what?
Well, fair dues.
Oh yeah. No, and there would be, and that's the funny thing, not to get, scientific, but there would be less death if we did more flu shots. And I was negligent until I got married and had stepkids. It's like, okay, yeah, I gotta protect the little ones and all that. And it's not that bad.
Yeah, kids are virus factories, man. You got.
Yeah, no. When I first, got married and moved in with the kids, I was like, "Why am I sick so?" It's like you little virus sponges.
Well, I've got a 2-year-old, and we've just put him into nursery in the past maybe 6 months to a year or whatever, and he has just had a cold or a virus pretty much ever since he started nursery. He's just constantly fucking sick.
Yeah.
He's totally fine with it. Just runs about, coughing and spluttering and nose dripping and like, hey, no bother, wiping it on the couch.
Right, enough virus talk. That ain't going away for a while. David, what? Can I ask you, what was the first comic book that you remember picking up off a shelf? Not the first one you maybe read as a kid that was lying around the house, but what was something you saw and picked up from the corner store or the 7-Eleven or whatever?
No, that's a good one actually, and yeah, thank you for pointing out picking up around the house, because we did have a few comics around the house that my parents didn't read comics, so I still do not know how they appeared in the house. That was kind of insidious in that aspect. But no, I remember it distinctly. I would go to 7-Elevens, and I would pick them up, and then later I would go to Walton Books, which we don't have anymore. And I would hit the spinner racks. And that's actually how I discovered comic book stores. Because my dad, even though he wasn't into that stuff, he helped me. I was reading the Acts of Vengeance, Marvel's Acts of Vengeance run. And I was having so much fun with it. And I was reading the Avengers and West Coast Avengers. And spinner racks missed a title in West Coast Avengers. And it was right when the Scarlet Witch was going insane, which I found out later that was for the 27th time, and she was joining with Magneto. And even Magneto was like, "Whoa, calm down, Wanda, calm down." And I was
Sithron, was that Sithron? Cthron? Sithron? Cthron? Maybe this evil. Or was that?
Oh, you mean
the twins, or was that?
No, this was when her kids were made imaginary, or she figured out she was imaginary.
Oh.
Master
After the whole Master Pandemonium.
Master Pandemonium with the kid arms.
Yes.
Yes, right. So just that's like for
they were never very kind to Wanda, were they? Like she gets it quite rough.
Yeah, but anyways, I was like, how do I get the next issue? And my dad's like, well, there's these places that hold the old issues, and you can go to them. I was like, oh, really?
Yeah.
And my dad took it to me, and I vividly remember it because it was this shopping center that was mostly abandoned. It was only this comic book shop and an old Showbiz Pizza. And I mentioned Showbiz Pizza because if you've seen Fine Night at Freddy's or anything like that, Chuck E. Cheese and Showbiz Pizza were the places where you had these scary animatronic, bears and animals and all of that. So I'm going into this place that's abandoned except for the comic shop and killer animatronic bears.
This
to
is
get
amazing.
this, I just fell in love. So I was like, oh my goodness. And that just spiraled from there. So sorry I got a little long-winded, but I love telling that story.
No, man, it's amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. That sounds cool.
No, it's kind of the way, isn't it? It's over here. There were regular titles on the shelves in the UK, 2000 AD being one of them. And then you would then they did compilations of there was Marvel UK over here for a while, and now they do compilations of US. So there'll be 3 issues, all of different, not in a row, 3 different. So 3 different.
Just a random grab bag.
It's Spider-Man, Venom, and let's say Spider-Woman, and not even concurrent running issues.
Yeah, they would just be random. They'd be random stories, wouldn't they? And they wouldn't be in order.
But to be fair, they are cheap as chips compared to buying your Wednesday Warrior comics, which over here, they're still about, I think, $3.50 for a 20.
Yeah. Well, they're sold as gateway, aren't they? They're sold to try and get you into the, so you can pick it up and you can read an entire run of a story without.
It should be like that, but it's not. So they do compilations in the supermarkets and bits and pieces and Waterstones, But it's comic shops. There's still plenty of comic shops about in the UK, which is good. And
I actually, not to interrupt, but I got my first book published was actually in Britain, and one of the reasons the publisher didn't go on with the second one because he opened up a comic shop in Swindon. Swindon, because it was called Swindon City or something comic shop.
Who was it? Who was the publisher?
I can't remember. God, it's been so long. I'd have to go through my emails because
that's amazing.
It's not Matt, is it?
I honestly would have to. I'm going to go to my email real quick and search for Swindon.
No.
And the other thing that before we say goodbye, David.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. While you're emailing, where do you stand on beer? Because we're a beer and comics podcast. We just drink beer and talk. What's your go-to beers if you have any?
No, definitely. We love the stouts for sure, especially because over here, over here it's pretty weak. It's lager, or whatever that piss water we put in.
There's plenty of that here, David. Trust me. There's plenty of that here as well.
Have you ever heard of? Do a quick joke. Have you ever heard of Keystone beer? It's an American cheap beer.
Yes.
How is Sex in a Canoe like Keystone beer?
How is Sex in a Canoe like Keystone beer?
Fucking close to water.
That's good, man.
We've gotten into the imperial stouts as well because we're all here it's all 5% and all of that, which I will admit I've gotten into this Hefeweizen that's juice, so it's like 2%. But with the imperial stouts, we're all like 10%. What? Oh yeah.
Yeah,
2%.
What's really funny, I don't know, Dave and Geoff, if you know this. Do you know? And it's not quite a stout, but Newcastle Brown Ale is sold more in the US than it is in the UK.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think they've actually started brewing it in the States now because it was just become too cost prohibitive. There is some here that most of it's brewed and kegged and shipped over to the States.
That's amazing.
Yeah, no, I would say probably about 95% of it. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so that's my beer of choice, and especially around the Christmas ones, we're getting the bomb. You guys have the bombs type ones where they throw in like we'll put in chilies and spices and all that.
Yeah.
No, mostly you guys do that. Yeah, apart from adding the green food coloring into a bloody lager for St. Patrick's Day. What's the Irish car bomb, which is a little shot glass of Guinness put into a. You don't hear that one over here too often.
It's nuts, man.
No, you definitely don't.
Not quite PC.
Yeah, and it's funny, the first time
standard drink in most other places around the world.
First time I had it, I didn't know you were supposed to shoot it, and so I just sat there and sipped it. And then I was wondering why the Irish cream that was in it was curdling and all that. And they're all like, my friend had to tell me, he's like, you're supposed to shoot the thing before it curdles. You're like, oh, no one told me.
Is that when you pulled out your gun and shot it?
No, they would already know because we have open carry here, so I can carry my AK-47.
Terrible.
I know. Okay, David, at this point in time, we normally speak about the beers we've been drinking and the comics that we've been reading. Do you want to stick about for that? Or
just for a little bit, I have to go and run some things, but I'm going to run to my kitchen real quick and get my beer.
No worries.
Yeah, good lads. That's what you need to do.
Nice one.
Awesome.
Right,
I don't have a comic this week because I've been doing one of those like focus on the own shit again. But I do have I have been drinking after our night of Scottish Comic Book Day. I seem to acquire a bag of beer like from the pub that we were drinking in. I woke up the next morning. It was just a bag, like an Asda bag for life, and it was just full of cans of Speech Bubble. And
you walked out of a pub in Scotland with full cans of beer. Is this what you're telling me?
No, it's not what I'm telling you. I found beer, right?
That's exactly what you're telling me.
No, that's you've just assumed that, right? Anyway, in this bag there was lots of Speech Bubble, which obviously but there was also a couple of Overtone Brewing Company beers. So I've just finished the Betty, which is a 5.5% pale.
Whose bag was this, Geoff?
It doesn't matter. You must have put the story, right?
You stole someone's bag of beers.
No. I'm friends with the brewer. That's right. Okay. So Overtone, I'm drinking this beer. I think I'm going to celebrate in Dunfermline heritage here, but Overtone's the Bruce, and it's a 5.5% IPA. It's a new hop blend with freestyle hops combining Nelson, Sauvin, Motueka, Pacifica, and Southern Cross hops, right, with fresh gooseberries, citrus notes, ripe tropical fruit, and orange blossom.
So Southern Cross hops from New Zealand, Australia. What does it taste like, Geoff?
I can smell it on
the descriptions, and don't let the description twist what you're saying.
Yeah, okay. It smells great. There's Colin here, brother.
Whoa! Hi, Colin.
There's a fellow in his bed. Hiya. He's lying back in his bed, like,
Yep. Well, Mark, Colin's not feeling well.
David, this is Colin.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Hi, David.
I wanted to point out you guys have an unfair advantage because it's 7 where you're at, so you're done with the day. It's 9 here. I got 9.
It's even better. It's 9.
It's 9 where we are, David. Yeah. 9 p.m. It's 9 o'clock. Yes.
Oh shoot! I can't. You see, you're trying to drink so much. It's now 2 hours later than I thought.
Listen,
how is it? Is it good?
It's okay. I did prefer the Betty. It's maybe not as. It's a wee bit milder. This one. It's it's very fruity, like the tropical tones in there. I'm not getting much gooseberry. I'm not getting. I'm like there's quite a. We talked about the hops there. There's quite an extensive hop profile. And I'm not really getting much of the hop profile, to be honest.
You think the citrus is cancelling a lot of it out?
Yeah,
That's a problem. I mean, yeah, you could add all this stuff at the world, but if it doesn't balance out right, then
Yeah,
it's nice, and I think I would drink it again, but I just preferred the Betty, to be honest. I think so I don't know, somebody can maybe help me out here, but the cans are very similar. There's just very
Oh, okay. That's okay. From a marketing perspective, that's not great.
But
I mean, ideally, if you're trying to sell this from the fridge, and you're running your eye across, that's way too close.
you're not seeing anything different there, are you?
No, well, there's a subtle. It's too subtle the change between cans. You imagine staff on a busy night trying
exactly.
To
That's my point. Exactly. You've also got to remember staff are going to be stocking that fridge. They're not giving a fuck if it's fucking. The chances are they're also picking up and giving you the wrong beer. That's another thing to think about on a busy bar.
and it's
a lovely bit.
Like you're saying that subtle difference makes things quite challenging, because I found the Betty to be a really lovely beer. That's the one I was drinking while we were talking to David, and then the Bruce is just not as good. And I would really struggle to be able to identify. If like you say, if you'd had a couple, you're in a dark bar, the cans sort of like you're like that. It's a bit confusing.
Yeah. Do you think?
Other than that, totally fine beer. I wouldn't.
But do you think it's given a choice? So if you were sold that beer from across the bar, would they have given you the other one first as a build up to the next one?
Well, I don't know. They're both 5.5. I think that they're obviously part of a. I think they're part of a branding exercise, maybe, or they were released at the same time, because they're both 5.5. They're both IPAs. They both got quite exciting hop profiles. The Betty one was a freestyle hops, New Zealand. Ultimately New Zealand hops. It was a Betty hop.
Picked it.
Yeah. I'm trying to point to you. There, Mark.
You're going to be wrong, Dave. That's fine.
Okay, can we go on to mine? Because I'm a little drunk.
Mm-hmm.
So, I was in Aldi and I picked up anti-establishment IPA because they always slag off Brewdog.
What's the best?
And this is their.
What's the before date on it?
What's the what? Sorry.
Have you bought it in Aldi? What's the best before date on it?
You ask all the weird questions when you're on the show.
Best before end of the 4th 23.
Okay. Well, that is just nuts, but all right. I don't believe that for a second. There's no way a beer can last 2 years. Carry on.
So anyway, I was drinking earlier on. I picked up this year because I thought I kind of like the can and stuff. Hercule Berage, fuck knows what it is. Belgian Dipper. Listen, I don't know. I just like to drink what's cheapest and tastes all right. But I like this can, and it was 7.4%. So I thought I'll drink one of these, and I'll be fine. So I've already drank one, and then I went to the IPA stuff, and I picked up this one, anti-establishment IPA, because obviously it is a piss take or a campaign again, or not against, to run alongside the Brewdog IPA. So I just thought that's kind of funny. It's 5.5%, which is the same as the Brewdog IPA, and it's
it's an Aldi house brand, because they did have a contract with Brewdog, and it basically created a brand that is almost identical to one of the Brewdog brands.
Yes,
even in the design and everything.
It's exactly the same.
Design, you wouldn't see too much difference. So Brewdog are an interesting bunch, because whilst they claim to be anti-establishment, their biggest contracts are with Witherspoons and Tesco's. So
yeah, and Aldi's beers are brewed by Williams Brothers.
Yeah.
Is that right? Is that right? Well, it says brewed in Scotland. And you know what? I just run into a shop normally Thursday before I pick up my kid and grab whatever I can and then just come home. So anyway, it's nice. It's going down well. I would recommend it. $150 a can, $160 a can, something like that. Can't go wrong. Nice wee
Can I go
colour,
next?
nice wee
So
smell.
I gotta jump out. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Can I go next after your?
Yes, go for it. On you go, David. You go now.
Okay, cool. Sorry. Yeah, because still the middle of the day over here. So, two I've been drinking a lot lately is this one is found it in Disney World actually, and I fell in love
No
with
way.
it. Yeah, sitting by the poolside and drinking a big cup of it. It's Schaffa. It's a Hefeweizen grapefruit beer, so Bier. And the trick is, it's literally 50% grapefruit juice and 50% Hefeweizen. So it's colored with beta carotene. So
What percentage is it? Coloured.
it's 2.5.
Ah, right. So it's almost like it's a shandy.
Fruit juice. Something
Yeah,
else.
Yeah.
Have you got a can there, David?
Oh,
You got a can there?
Oh, sorry. Here's the.
so that's
Oh yeah,
yeah. That's it's like a Radler.
yeah. You can get that here. It's
And I
I
like
bought
how
that
it's
one rather than in
organ
craft beer.
preservative, so like I'm drinking, real beer or something.
No.
That's nice. I like that one. You can buy that. I bought that in my local craft beer shop a couple of years ago. It's lovely, actually. It's really nice.
Yeah, and they have a whole bunch of them now because they have like passion fruit and some others. It's a pomegranate. This has gotten crazy, but I like the grapefruit one.
It sounds crazy to us, but they're very common in Germany and Austria, and even in Belgium. The Radlers and the shandy. Well, we call them shandy in New Zealand, Australia. So basically,
No, and that's funny because we don't really have many shandies over here. We have to hunt them down, or like first time I had a shandy is I had to get it from the British import store we have around here.
You've got Mike's Hard. What do they call it?
Mike's Hard Lemonade. I totally forgot about that because
That is
half
not.
the time
That's kind of a liquor substitute and
a
soda,
malt
isn't
liquor as we call them here. Yeah, but the other
Shandy,
one,
I just think a shandy is when you shandy for me is like, and this is
50 lemonade lager.
yeah, you just pick a lager from the tap and get them to top it up with like draft lemonade.
Lemonade,
That's
yeah. The shandy it used to be very popular. A lager shandy in Scotland, and it was basically half a glass of lemonade, a pint glass, half a glass of lemonade, and the other half topped up with lager. And lager tops as well was quite a popular one, where it was just lager basically with a lemonade top.
What you got to realise is a pint is actually it's very Irish and British.
Yeah.
Most countries around the world don't serve pints.
Yeah.
They might serve a 500 ml glass or a 450 ml glass, but a pint's 525. Unless you're getting a Guinness,
568.
568 mils.
568, yeah, 568 mils.
Yeah.
It was a stupid.
Unless you get a pint of Guinness is usually standard around the world, but everything else is done in different sizes, except for the UK and Ireland, where it's always got to be in a pint, which is half our bloody problem. Because you're like, I'll have an 8% beer in a pint. It's like no. You need like a half or a quarter or a schooner.
They were talking in my work about going out and drinking pints of wine. I have a pint of wine. What?
That's
pint
amazing.
of wine? That's insane.
but before I go, the other one we've been drinking around the house, and my wife likes this one more. She's a heartier drinker than I am. I'm considered the lightweight. It's called Fully Grown Nick, and it's from called Tupp's Brewery, and they have a couple really flavorful imperial stouts. They have a Scallywag one and some others I can't, but this is their Christmas one. And when it says holiday spices, it means it's a dark, thick, viscous imperial stout with imagine putting gingerbread cookies and eggnog flavoring in it.
That's amazing.
And
That's
it's
a proper we've got a brewery over here called Tiny Rebel. That sounds like something they would do. Like that we'll take an imperial stout and mix something in it to just make it like.
Yep. We have a similar one my wife likes to drink where it's a Christmas bomb where it has all that stuff in it, but then they throw like jalapeno peppers in it. So I can't drink it because it starts to burn my mouth, and I'm not very good with the heat. So I'm just like, I can't. It physically burns.
Oh my goodness, that's
awesome.
amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah. Oh, and also it's 12.1, so I can only drink one of these, or I can drink. I can drink a lot of these. Pretty easy.
Amazing.
That's a strong beer.
Yes.
How many ounces or mils is it? Or...
It's 12 fluid ounces.
Colin, translation?
I think a can is that 8 fluid ounces, a small one.
It's a 12, so it's about
12
360
is
then.
about
It's a 440 mil.
440
mil
or something.
Yeah.
440.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Which it's funny you bring that up because this one, since it's Jum and is all like, oh, it's 330 milliliters. I'm like, what is that?
Yeah, that's a standard can size around the world.
Yeah, that's a Coke can. Isn't it?
It's a Coke can. Yeah, that's Coke can size. Yeah. Well, for us, who knows what they serve it to you guys right now?
I don't know.
Right, awesome.
Well, but thank you for having me on, and thank you
Well,
for
joining us.
sharing the beer. And I will definitely bug you guys for when I have future stuff, and I will try to be on a later time so I can drink with you all.
Always welcome, man. Always welcome.
The best thing to do is
we should have an 8
clean your day.
a.m. session to cater for David. I think an 8 a.m. Friday, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. You can do it in the morning, and I'll do it tonight. So it'll be like midnight for me, and you guys are like 6 a.m.
I had to do it. I interviewed Kevin Eastman in the summer, and it was obviously because it's Kevin Eastman. I had to stick to Kevin Eastman time, which meant sitting in my kitchen at 1:15 in the morning UK time.
After you'd done a show as well.
After we'd done the show, so it was.
I think Sean from Australia was one of the best ones, though. It was 7 a.m. for Sean in Australia.
No, don't worry about it. Sean's fine. Who cares what I go?
You went and cracked open a beer. It's just like, oh my God, mate, 7 a.m. and you're drinking a beer. Good on him. Anyway, David, it's been lovely having you on.
Yeah, pleasure.
Thank you.
Hopefully we'll see you again in the near future. Your book sounds awesome. All your stuff sounds fantastic.
Thank you. Awesome. And you guys are great. And we'll be moving as soon as they let us.
Awesome. Cool. We'll look forward to it, man. See you soon.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks, David.
Bye.
Cheers now.
Colin, what are you drinking?
Well, I went and I picked out a fairly low alcohol beer since I'm on the tablets. So this is one of Andrew's cast-offs. So for the past few weeks, Andrew's been telling us about all these porters and stouts that are flavoured that he doesn't like, and this has been sitting on his shelf for weeks, I think. But he gave me a few, so I picked out the lowest alcohol one since I'm not feeling so good, and this one is called Urban Shaker. This is oatmeal stout. It's from a brewery called Carnival Brewing Company, who are Belgian. I think it came from a Beer 52 box.
Yeah, that's a total Beer 52 number. I recognise Carnival.
Certainly looks at it. It's a 4.5% oatmeal stout. To be quite honest, there's nothing outstanding flavour-wise with this. I think it's a fairly straightforward stout, and I think Andrew has maybe been put off slightly by it. I think he would have enjoyed it. Although there's a slight sort of dark chocolate aroma and flavour in it. Not massively so, and a slight coffeeness, but not anything different from what you would find in a lot of porters anyway, or stouts. Quite a pleasant beer, slightly sweet. It's a slight, ever so slight, maybe caramel flavour about it. I really quite enjoyed it. I'd rate this quite highly. If I could get this cheaply enough, I would maybe buy it again.
That's the annoying thing. No, it's not annoying because you possibly wouldn't know that. Beer 52 is like a double-edged sword, and I got a Beer 52 letter through the post. Yeah, I got a letter through the post today that was like, because I used to be a Beer 52 customer. I'm not just now, and they were like, "Oh, hi Geoff, for a tenner including postage, we can send you 2 beers," and it's amazing. But you have that weird double-edged sword with Beer 52 that you discover, you discover amazing beers that you wouldn't have tried before, but then trying to get that hold of that beer afterwards is an absolute nightmare because it's from it was an ABC brew in Bristol.
I don't think that's the point. I don't think that's the point of Beer 52 though. I think the point of Beer 52 is to try, other just other types of beer.
I think so. Drive up your Untapped score.
Yeah.
These mixed boxes of beers and stuff they get sent out. a lot of it is these guys go and hit up these breweries, and you go, you got any stock, you got cheap going, sort of thing, or and you're not the quality of them are quite inconsistent. Personally.
Yeah.
They'll make all the claims in the world, but there's a lot of bullshit and balderdash that goes on in it.
Yeah, of course.
There have been a few times. Sorry, I was going to say, just with that in mind, Mark. There have been a few times where you get a couple of beers and you're like, that's outstanding, and then trying to source it on your own, it's maybe like £5 or £6 a can without postage. But then every so often you do get like, oh, this is an Asda for like 97 pence right now, and it's like.
Yep. And they all do it. Every brewery does it.
Of course they do. That's what you would do, though, isn't it? You'd be like, old stock, fucking launch it off.
Well,
you get to the supermarket.
From the smallest ones to the biggest ones, it all comes down to planning and distribution. And, they've got to brew to a target. And if they have to brew X amount to make a decent pint or a bottle or can of something, the rest of it has to go somewhere. So, a lot of it is sacrificed out to these other distribution points for F all, so they can get the main brew sold. So, yeah, it's a tough game. And as I said before, Brewdog, probably the biggest hypocrites in the world. I got shares in them. I'm not an idiot. But, their biggest markets are Witherspoons and Tesco. And they'll be selling to Witherspoons for nothing. But they'll be guaranteed 100,000 hectolitres a year through them, or something stupid like that. So, which they wouldn't be able to do anywhere else in the UK, but they'll be selling it so they can meet their net targets to brew enough to sell to the rest of their sites. So, yeah.
So, Mark, I see you have brought in a full case of beer.
I have. So, this ironic.
So, tell us about it.
Well, this is my baby. This is my bread and butter. This is Waikato Draft from New Zealand.
Oh,
right.
Nice.
And
Wow.
My lovely better half got me 48 bottles for Christmas. And now
you guys celebrate Christmas at a different time from us, or what? Oh.
Absolutely, because it's a 4% New Zealand bitter lager. Now, on the beer scale, it is in the lager category, but it drifts more towards, how can I say, UK wise, probably on the lager scale, it drifts a bit more towards John Smith's, just a touch, or your Belhaven Best or whatnot. Color wise, it's a dark golden lager, but it's 4%. And this would be your equivalent of. I'll send you some ads, and it's your working man, your rugby racing and beer, and your man of the forest, your lumberjacks and all that sort of thing. It's one of those sort of brands. And I bloody grew up on the stuff and lucky enough to work for them and sell it for about 8 years and became brand manager for a year as well. So but guess how much? So I say a box of it, shipped from New Zealand over here, shipped to Scotland, is 24 bottles. I think was £45.
Oh, but then if you love it, that's a bargain, isn't it? Really, if that's your favourite beer.
But
I've
had 3 of them already.
Well, Mark, I've actually had that beer. I have or had 2 great uncles who emigrated to New Zealand, and that was their drink. And
Where did they move to? Where did they move? Waikato, somewhere in the Waikato.
No, I'm trying to remember.
Waikato's a region. It's called Waikato Draft because
it's
Coromandel
town. No, I've been to Coromandel up in the peninsula. No, right in the centre of North Island.
Taupo.
No, it's got a kind of more British sounding name. I'm trying to remember what it's called.
Hamilton.
Hamilton, yes, Hamilton.
Yeah,
that's
which is in the middle of the Waikato. So the Waikato region. Yeah, that's where I'm born and bred.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah, that's
and the first time I had it, my uncle had decided to put his beer, especially for me coming around. He wanted it to be really cold, and he forgot to put it in the freezer. so he went and brought out his big crate of beer, and the beer had expanded, and all the tops had been popped off the bottles.
So yeah,
so we just had to kind of drink it.
was it a swapper crate as well? 750ml bottle.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, big bottles. Yeah,
So
yeah,
we have
large ones. Yeah.
So unofficially, there is a day called Crate Day in New Zealand where you get 12 750ml bottles in a crate. The wooden crate, you recycle them. You see, you pay a deposit and you get your deposit back when you return the crate. And you have a Crate Day, and you're supposed to sit there all day with your mates and have a barbecue and drink 12 750 bottles of beer. It's a beautiful time. Beautiful time.
What a fucking day!
But yeah,
This is awesome.
It is a bitter lager, and it is an acquired taste back home. You either love it or absolutely hate it. And that's probably why I love it. You know, it's one of those things you're supposed to put hair on your chest and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But and as is most New Zealand beers, we have questions under the bottle caps.
Right, hold on. Let me zoom in.
No. Hang on. So such classics as who was the coach of the All Blacks from 2000 to 2001?
John Olumo.
No, it was never a coach. Can't quite see it. And the answer is Wayne Smith, of course.
Of course.
Which extinct volcano is southwest of Raglan? Mount Coral.
John Olumo.
How many cows in the world for every person?
Fuck you.
4. That is a
That's not right, you.
4 cows for the
The
person.
Waikato region is very big on dairy farming, you see, and the mascot of the Waikato rugby team is Mulu, who is a cow, and who I actually was the mascot. I was hired to do that for 1 year. I got paid 150 quid a game
That's incredible.
to run on to a rugby field in full regalia and a massive fiberglass cool's head, and I was usually very hungover and had half a dozen energy drinks in me, and they had Mulu kids as well who would run out, and I'd run out onto the rugby field and would do a Mulu dance, and I would kick the kids because I couldn't see them. So yeah, fun times back home for me.
You're here first. Yeah. Mark Abnett used to assault children.
Dressed as a cow. But not the kind of cow that we talk about, like an actual cow.
The actual cow, yes.
That's absolutely amazing, man.
That's awesome.
There was a one thing about this beer was before they started to get all crazy about calorie count and protein and fat, it was actually the lowest beer in the country for saturated fats, and we didn't want to tell anyone because it took away its manliness. So it was like, oh god, this is better for you than anyone else. We cannot tell anyone. But then but it got to the point where you have to have all these details on there, so they just let it go in the end. But it was quite a hard case. We're like, no, under no circumstances shall we tell anyone that this is the healthiest beer for you.
That's amazing. Yeah,
brilliant.
Has anyone been reading this week? Anyone got any exciting comics to share?
I can go with mine if you want.
Go for it.
So I finished Think Angel Legacy by John Wagner and Alan Grant.
Nice.
I'm really enjoying this. I got this off of Rebellion 2000 AD sale. I got a couple. I got like Strontium Dog and Brit Noir or something. I can't remember.
Noir, brilliant.
Yeah, I've not read it yet. For like, I think it cost me like £12, £15 for all these things. It was like 75% off and 85% off. It was a really, really good deal. I've came across Think Angel before, or maybe Rat Think actually before, just generally reading 2000 AD, but never really get into the actual character itself. And he's amazing. What I like about it more than anything is the writing, and it's not. I'm not meaning the writing with regards to the storyline or whatever, but the way that they have portrayed Think Angel and also Rat Think, which is Think Angel's son. So Think Angel is the oldest brother of the Angel clan. Who you'll know the Angel clan. He's the one the guy in the Mean Machine based in his head. I think he was actually.
Scorched Earth. Is it Scorched Earth?
Yeah. They were in the Judge Dredd Sylvester Stallone movie, which was I was because I'm total shite. But anyway, it's the way they've written it. Things like my most paralyzing poison You know, they obviously they think the angels are supposed to be the American, the hillbilly hicks of America, and it's the way they have spelled poison and paralyzing. It just makes you, when you read it, it makes you almost sound as if you are from that kind of hillbilly hick American style. And then it starts off, I think the original kind of 2000 AD was all black and white, obviously, and then they started doing the first 2 pages were in colour, and then the rest of it was black and white. And then by the time you get to the kind of end of the book, it's all gone as we all know it now, and it's all gone to complete full colour. But it was just lovely to read through it and, you know, get right back to when Judge Dredd was, you know, the man that he was when he was ruling Britain, basically. And I just really, really loved it. And it's like I say, John Wagner and Alan Grant. There's so much Scottish in there. There is a whole storyline where they come across. Is that Rat Fink actually? Where he breaks into the Scottish. I should have written this down. It's like a Scottish settlement, and they're having, rather than having like the haggis night or the Rabbie Burns night where they toast in the haggis and they pipe in the haggis, they pipe in the fish supper. And it's like you can't there's all Scottish slang, and when you're reading it, you're like, obviously we know what Scottish slang sounds like, and it was just absolutely brilliant, and I absolutely loved it. So anyone that is into 2000 AD and wants to kind of delve deeper into another character from 2000 AD, jump onto the Rebellion website and have a look at it just now. I don't know if the sale's still going, but you definitely find things in there. And I would recommend you just to pick something at random and read it. You know, and there's so many good characters in there that I think I've certainly not delved into them as a comic book reader over, you know, the course of the past 20 odd years. And so I reckon for people out there, there's stuff in there that I think you'll really, really enjoy. So yeah, Fink Angel Legacy, really, really good. I would definitely recommend it. And there's definitely more to Rat Fink, which is Fink Angel's son. I think a decent image of him. That's probably the best image there. If you see him there, hold on, there he is. He's a gruesome looking, horrible looking guy. And that first storyline it opens up, man. It's not pretty. Not pretty. Kind of stuff I like. So yes, Fink Angel, 2000 AD Legacy. Highly recommended.
Awesome.
Good, I can sit back and chill now.
Good. Colin, what have you been reading?
Well, I picked up the new Mark Millar series, King of Spies. So it's been kind of billed as James Bond meets John Wick, and it's kind of it feels kind of old fashioned. You know, it's an old fashioned, you know, man's man action thriller comic. But as always, Mark Millar's taken a common kind of trope, but put his own little spin on it. So it follows the life of Roland King, who is effectively James Bond, right? But he's retired from service. You know, he's been given his medal by the Queen. The Queen does make a little appearance in here. I should probably give her a little nod when he retires and he goes to meet the Queen, and the Queen does make a little appearance in there. And she tells him that you know, he's not getting a medal for his bravery. It's because of his sacrifices that he's made. Anyway, fast forward, he's retired and he discovers he's got cancer and it's terminal. He's got maybe 6 months, a year to live, perhaps 3 months, where he's going to be well enough to do stuff. And he decides, you know, that he knows where all the skeletons are buried, where all the bad guys are that the government's never dealt with, and he's going to go out and do something about it. And that's going to be his legacy.
Awesome.
Yeah, I've got it around here as well somewhere, Colin. I would say it's probably a return to form for him.
I think so too. I've kind of been off a lot of his stuff, and I thought I'm not going to get this. You know, a couple of weeks ago when I was kind of reading about this, and I was thinking that I'm not going to pick it up. I didn't pick up Prodigy and loads of other ones, you know, for the last couple of years. Then the reviews started to come out, and there were 10 out of 10 reviews and stuff like that. And I was
good for him.
Yeah, it feels more natural and in his wheelhouse. Some of the other stuff, a bit formulaic, if anything. Some of his other things in between time, and felt like maybe he was churning it out for Netflix. But this one, as you say, it feels like Mark writing it for starters. It could be straight out of the world of Kingsman as well, but
Could be, yeah.
I think there's I think I'm not going to spoil it for you because I've kind of seen bits in there. There's bits in it that I think I know where this is going, and I think I know.
You're right. I think it certainly lays down things that you think might crop up in the future.
It's like, geez, for sure. You're really hammering that one over the head there again. That's not subtle.
Yeah.
It's
there's a nice opening sequence. It's quite like a James Bond movie.
Yeah.
So it's a flashback to in Panama City in the 1990s.
Yeah, it's interesting
and
too because
it's full of action.
Because it's
and
fun
stuff and the funny bit.
Because it's his own world as well. It's different than him writing a Marvel book because when he's writing a Marvel book and there's a twist, it's because it's against type of what we expect from those characters. With this, these are all new characters and stuff, so you can't fall back on that. So it's 100% his writing that has to carry the weight here. And Matteo Scalera, his art, top notch.
It absolutely is. It's just so really kinetic. It's all movement, fantastic kind of shapes and camera angles. You know, it looks as though it's been shot, you know, as a one of these massively bombastic kind of action thrillers, more like a bit like a John Woo type thing. It has that kind of feel about it. You know, loads of bloody, guts and gore as people are shot and stabbed and things. You know, the camera's put in places that it shouldn't be. And all that kind of stuff,
John Woo, by the way. So, like, as an aside, I'm currently writing my last. Yeah, I'm writing my Enki. I'm writing the most like the last issue of Spirit of Enki, and I've been looking for stills and shots in movies, like obviously to try and like send to my artist so that he can have a look at them and get an idea. And the majority of I don't know if you guys have noticed this before when you've been writing or you've been putting stuff together, but like a lot of my stuff's come from John. I didn't realize, like, if you'd asked me who my favorite directors were, John Woo wouldn't be in my top 10. But like when I'm trying to do I'm trying to get like camera angles for NK4, they're all like I want to say of the 10 that I found last week, 6 of them are from John Woo movies.
Yeah. Yeah. Because he does interesting things. He puts the camera where they haven't been put before, right in the action, and above the action, underneath the action, and that's what's groundbreaking about it, is his kind of filmmaking technique.
Yeah.
Where you been, Dave?
Tactical.
We've just been talking the action-packed story of King of Spies.
I know. From what I heard before I disappeared, it sounds awesome. It does actually.
I think you would love it, Dave. I think it would.
I think it would as well. I think I'm going to look into it.
I will say, when you're talking about all these angles and stuff, one of the, I don't know how, but one of the scenes that really captured me in that book, Colin, was just him sitting in the cab. And I just
that's a good scene.
I don't know, just thinking about it, him in the cab, just it was just something very clean and pure. And what's interesting for me is, like, you guys have grown up with a lot of this stuff, the layouts. Hey!
Something odd happened there.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
So, okay, we'll just carry on regardless.
Jeff,
carry on.
Jeff pushed a button.
Yeah.
No, I didn't miss me.
Is like, sometimes a book like that, so him in the back of the black cab and stuff, that's something that really resonates for me, because these are things that I grew up seeing on film and television and stuff. Mm-hmm. Then coming over here in my 30s, well, when I was 30, and then walking around London, walking around Edinburgh, and walking around Glasgow, these things like I know and feel. I've seen all this stuff growing up, and yeah, just a simple shot like that is the Big Ben, blah blah blah, and this is sort of everyday stuff for you guys, but I don't know why, but it starts to feel more visceral and real the older I get.
Yeah, it's a great establishing shot, and you immediately know where you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come here. Nope. All right. There goes the dog. Yeah.
Mark, what have you been reading? Have you read anything interesting this week?
I've got two books that I managed to get round to actually. I hadn't for a while. I've got a Kickstarter that arrived a while back, and I hadn't managed to quite get to it. And I think the author of the book sent me the book, and it's I think it's about 40 odd pages. And one thing with Kickstarter is you do look at value for money. And I was really happy what I paid for and what I got. But what he did, he kind of cocked up because he sent me a print and he bundled it between these two cardboard pages. And I pulled it out, but on the back of it, it says, spoiler page inside, don't look at this till you read the book. So, of course, I didn't. So I looked at it. and it was this guy, Doug Cranny. Doug Cranny and Glassati is the book. Glassati.
Glassarty.
Glassarty. So yeah, so now Glassarty is. I tell you what, it's a bloody good book, and I very much enjoyed Glassarty, and I'm probably not pronouncing it correctly.
Geoff!
As far as Kickstarters goes, Glassarty was Glassity.
It's Glass City, all one word. It's supposed to look like Glasgow. That's the whole point behind it.
No, of course I did. But no, Dave, mate, yeah, bloody good work. And, for what the cover price and postage and everything, it's not easy and very much appreciated. And probably of the year of Kickstarters I've bought, probably easily the best value for money I've had. So, hands down. And I cannot wait for next one. I'm not going to spoil it because I'm sure you guys have harped on about it before. So we'll leave that one. That's over. That's gone. And the other one I hadn't got around to as well is my mate Michael Pennick, who he did this book a while back. This story was supposed to be in a British magazine. So it's an American author who's self-publishing using a story that he has completed, which was originally for UK-style comic. And it's called Recovery Incorporated. And he ended up kickstarting it, and it's actually quite unusual. So it was originally intended to run in a British magazine as an 8-page monthly installment back in 2013. The first issue in your hands, excluding the 4 new pages, are 3 8-page chapters that were originally created for the Doom magazine. And he says who that magazine is, and I'll tell you, it's Strip Magazine UK. Never heard of them, but apparently they've been dodgy in the past and tried to come back and do it again. But he did well, and he's launched it himself, and it's a fantastic, I would say, a female Bond style. And of course, when you use UK style, you get the widescreen effect. You get more panels on the page, and it's bloody lovely. It's bloody violent. And where is it? There's no nudity in here, but it's basically a sexy spy flying around the world and getting up to mischief. And he also produced some lovely prints that sort of have a retro feel to it as well, which is almost like ads and stuff. So yeah, they're quite cool and they're quite different.
Looks awesome.
Nice. So yeah, it was good because I've known Michael for a wee bit. We're in a Kickstarter community group and talk a bit, but it was just really great to get your hands on that after so long. So yeah, and that's pretty much it. I haven't read a lot in the last few weeks. But yeah,
nice. Just to let you know, you were the only person that got the spoiler page hidden. See, I started realizing when I was posting out the volumes 1 and 2. I'm like, shit. I'm including a total spoiler page here. So, Mark, you were the only one that got the spoiler page hidden from everybody else.
No. It was completely out of context anyway, so I didn't really know. Didn't really spoil anything because I didn't know anything. So
That's fine.
okay.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Good to know.
But I started reading the book. I was like, oh, I know what's going to happen anyway.
Sorry, I ran off there. I remembered that I actually read a comic last week and never reviewed it. So I talked about it for 2 minutes because it was really good. And I don't know if you guys feel the same sometimes when you're reading comics for review, and then for some reason you can't review it. It's like it gets backed up by other comics, and you're like, shit, I read that like a month ago, and it's trying to get it back in. I picked up this comic. It's thought bubble. It's called Badgered by Chris Aldhouse and Oliver Harud, and it's I was sold on it based on the idea that it's supposed to be.
Is that Wind on the Willows?
Yeah, Wind in the Willows mixed with Gangs of London. Do you remember that Gangs of London program?
Someone's reviewed this recently, actually. Was that an ACP by any chance?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. That's the first I've seen it. I love.
We don't promote other podcasts here, do we?
Yes.
Yeah.
Everybody.
It was just really, really funny. Just really, really good. So like after 30 years in the joint, Toad's out of prison. He wants to go back to like his roots. He wants to get the empire started back up again. He wants to like go back to the strip bars and work out what's happening. And but in his absence, obviously things have changed, and his friends now live in like a wee 1-bedroom flat in a really rundown part of London next to a group of really violent rave loving. Where are they? One of my favourite panels. Some rave loving. What are they called? English bulldogs. So like at one point Toad's like, the music next door is too loud, so he goes to the chap on the door and he gets met by these like really brutal Irish bulldogs that are just like, no, fuck off, mate. And but it's just really good. And then Badger shows up. And Badger's like, I don't know, Badger's the stereotypical
nice.
The old guard. He's obviously a hitman or like a really respected gangster back in like the 70s and 80s, but he's been gone for a long time. And now that his pal Toad, who's like a total a drunken like whimsical liability, is now out of prison, Badger's back on the scene as well, and just really like it's stunning. Like as a comic, it is beautiful. It just looks great.
I love the title page. When it's Badger, there's obviously got the ER symbol there. What does that even mean?
That's the one from the postage stamps, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, it's pretty much the stamp of Britain. Everywhere you look, it's that fucking stamp. What does it mean, Colin?
Elizabeth Regina.
Yes, there we go. Okay, that's the first time I've found that out. But that's awesome. That's a cool. The cover looks fantastic.
As I say, it was sold to me as Wind in the Will. Like it was Oliver that sold it to me at the Thought Bubble, and he said, "Oh, it's Wind in the Willows meets Gangs of New York, or sorry, Gangs of London that came out last year on like Skyland." And it is that. It's good, and it's just really funny. And whoever, obviously it was Chris Aldhouse that came up with it. It's fucking genius. Like just really, really funny, and just really, really silly. And like it did when I finished reading it, I was like, there has to be like, straight away my mind's going to like fucking Pine Martin's doing Train Spotting or something. There's definitely.
Is it a one shot? Is it a one and done?
No, I think it's going to be a series. I need to actually go and check that out. But certainly by the end of issue 1, they're already like plotting a second issue.
Right.
So, but no, I fucking love indie comics. Like,
yeah, that's the thing. I don't buy mainstream comics much anymore. Obviously, I go jump into 2000 AD, and I will pick up mainstream comics. Of course, I will, like a trade paperback or whatever. But to look out for new stuff, I'm more interested in what's going on.
I should send you guys a copy of Schism too, actually. That me and Chris Connolly did. I don't know if I gave you a copy when we were out, but down at Thought Bubble. But that's certainly a book that we both went, fuck it. And there's
exactly.
There's some stuff there that even I'm like, I'm not sure if I should tell my This Land readers about this book.
Nah, fuck it, man. Get it all out there. That's where I see it. Nice. Can we talk about anything else? Are we good? Should we mention
next week's our last episode of the year. I think we're going to try and push over the weekend. We're going to try and push sort of. So anybody wants to like tell us what their favorite comics or beer were from this year, we'll try. We traditionally have done beer of the year and comic of the year, but it's always just been me and Colin. So actually, next week, I would like to see what happens next week when there's a group of us that are trying to like debate on what our comics and beers are. So
okay, fine, sounds good.
Right, so yeah.
If I'm allowed back, I'd love to. But...
Yes, Mark, are you up for next Thursday?
Listen, I think it saves me from abusing you in the comments all the time. So
Great. But yeah, so if everybody wants to go off and find a beer or a comic for next week that they've thought was to stand out for their year, that would be amazing. And then anybody wants to like drop us a message or drop us for consideration. I know last year I think Colin had a standout favourite beer, and I tried to like swing it at the 11th hour with the Beath's Dance Monkey. But yeah.
Hey guys, you know there's an option here. You can go from stream to private chat, and under private chat, Geoff tells us he's gone for a big.
Yes, that's why Geoff managed to cancel my camera while I went for a taxi.
Interesting.
Oh yeah.
There's some lovely.
Professional.
So Colin and obviously Ben 77 Cullis was on, and Jimmy said hi earlier, and then in the private feed there's one message that's just Dave going, Geoff, I need a piss, big man. Can you sort my camera out? Thanks for joining us tonight, Mark, and we'll blather to you in the week and stuff and work out what's happening.
I'm not going to hold you to it because I know how much airtime I soak up just being an idiot. So.
Yes,
has everyone watched Hawkeye? Does everyone watch Hawkeye this week?
Yes.
No.
Spoiler alert, no Hawks.
There's a few eyes, but no Hawks. Yeah. Okay.
Well, lads, as always, Mark, especially you, it's been a pleasure.
Cheers, guys. Have a lovely weekend, everyone, and all that jazz.
Cheers.
See ya. Bye.
Au revoir.